Hey guys, so before I begin, very quickly, Coyote vs. Acme is being released next year, 2026. We asked for it, we're getting it, so hashtag go see Coyote vs. Acme. There you go. Now that that's out of the way, one more thing before we get things going. Spoiler warning. If you haven't seen Thunderbolts, asterisk, you might want to stop the video here. You've been warned. There will definitely be spoilers ahead. You've been warned. All right, let's talk about this thing. So if you're just watching this to find out whether I think it's good or bad, I'll tell you right now, it's good. However, I feel that a lot of the reviews that they quoted during the trailers for this movie greatly embellished the quality of this film. Like, there was one quote from a professional reviewer that said that this was the best Marvel movie since Endgame. No, it's not. It's good. It's a really good movie. Recommend it. Loved it. Is it the best movie since Avengers Endgame? No, it isn't. We've had Black Widow. We've had Shang-Chi. We've had Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. We've had Deadpool and Wolverine. All great movies. Some of which one could argue are better than Thunderbolts. Asterisk. I want to call them the Thunderbolts, but it's just Thunderbolts. Anyway. So yeah, that review had my head spinning, or that review, or that quote taken out of context from a professional review. But anyway, but yes, it is a good movie. Way back when WandaVision came out, I had mentioned that the theme of this particular saga of the Marvel Cinematic Universe was not the multiverse, but it was dealing with trauma, that this was the trauma saga. As almost every installment is the main character or characters dealing with some horrible thing that they've experienced. Wanda dealing with the loss of vision, Doctor Strange dealing with the weight of the decision that he made when he gave the Time Stone to Thanos, and you know, the world went through 5 years of half the life in the universe being missing. And this is nothing but that. The multiverse stuff is barely touched upon in this movie. It is 100% trauma. This is the Marvel leftovers, all these discarded tertiary characters that just existed in their movies and shows to tell the story of these more important characters. This movie has this beautiful message of what it's like to feel expendable, to feel disposable. How it doesn't matter if you have amazing powers and amazing abilities, as the characters in this movie do. But when you feel that way, it's easy to believe that, especially when you say that stuff about yourself. The moment there is power in words, and when you're always putting yourself down, even if you don't believe it, even if you do it as a form of self-deprecation, the moment that some idiot who doesn't matter says one of those things to you, it confirms it and you believe it. And that's what these characters represent. But that's not true, you know. You get to decide your worth. And boy, has there never been an installment of the Marvel Cinematic Universe that more desperately needed Red Guardian. Like, I understand that a little bit of trepidation towards the character and his past appearances, but this movie 100% needs that character because he is the one who has an unshakable belief in himself and others like himself. So, you know, he sees Yelena and Walker and Ghost, and these are characters who don't believe in themselves. They think they're just disposable trash. And he sees them and he goes, no, you guys are awesome. You have achieved so many great things. You could be a team. You could be the heroes on the Wheaties box that comes with a little toy surprise, you know, for the kids. You could be that. So as Cervantes used to say, all you need is one person to believe in you. So, my God, his role as the hype man of the group, 100% necessary in this movie. So, let's talk about the Taskmaster in the room. The worst kept secret in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that Taskmaster was not going to survive this movie. Most of us knew this right away from the trailers because you only see her be truly active during the furnace scene. And then all the other scenes, either she's not participating or she's just kind of in the background and she looks CG'd in. And some eagle-eyed fans even noticed that Ava, the ghost, was carrying around her sword, Antonia's sword. So then after that, when all the promotional material came in, she always had her mask on. And you know how these movies are, that if they have any excuse to have one of the actors' masks off in the posters and any of the promotional material, they'll go for it. There'll be an alternate version of the poster where Iron Man and Captain America don't have their masks on. But every single piece of promotional material, Taskmaster always has her mask on. Always. Ghost doesn't. You would always see Hannah John Common's face in every promotion, even though for her powers to work, she has to have the mask on. So there was that. There was the fact that Olga Kurilenko's name was never above the line, was never above the title. Everybody else's names on the posters and promotional material above the title, not hers. And then the final nail in the coffin that let everybody know that she was not going to make it past this movie, and I hated that they did this, was when they released that long-ass video showing everybody's name on the back of their chair who was going to be in Avengers Doomsday. And all the Thunderbolts are there. They're named off, including Bob, so Bob was going to survive, even though we knew that he was going to be the antagonist in the movie, but not Olga. You didn't see Olga's name anywhere, so you knew Taskmaster for sure wasn't going to make it. So a lot of you asked me how I felt about this because Taskmaster is one of my favorite D-list Marvel villains. Right up there with Batroc the Leaper, played by GSP. And how I felt about them disposing of her in this movie. Well, since I knew ahead of time that it was going to happen, I braced myself for it. It's different when you know it was going to happen, as opposed to something that's 100% unexpected, like Black Widow not surviving Endgame. That caught me completely by surprise. Like the moment that her and Hawkeye started to fight over who was going to sacrifice themselves for the Soul Stone, I knew that it was going to be her. And it really caught me by surprise. I knew there was no way that she was going to let Hawkeye jump off that cliff, and I knew there was no way that Hawkeye was going to beat her at hand-to-hand combat. So yeah, that shocked the hell out of me and didn't sit well with me for the longest time, even though it made sense narratively. Taskmaster, on the other hand, because I knew it was going to happen, I was braced for it and it didn't hit me as hard. And then the context of the scene on top of that is that these professional assassins are trying to kill each other. This is what they do. They kill people for a living. So it wouldn't make any sense if they all walked away from that scene alive. Somebody had to die. And within the context of the movie, Antonia Dreykov, Taskmaster, was the one that made the most sense. I mean, this is a very lighthearted, silly movie about these guys who don't know what they're doing, trying something new. These people who are seen as villains trying to be heroes. And Antonia is a character that's very precise, and she always knows what to do. She knows how to copy other people's abilities. She's very task-oriented. So that didn't mix well with that, as well as all the other characters being kind of humorous. And her, she's a very serious character. Furthermore, very recently there was an interview with director Jake Schreier, where the first question out of the gate, it was a spoiler spoilery interview. The first question out of the gate was, what was your logic behind killing off Taskmaster? And he was very quick with the answer, and the answer was as follows. You know, you have 6 characters to divide the movie's time amongst. That's the 6 Thunderbolts. Plus, you also have Val. Plus, you also have Mel. So that's 8 characters that you're dividing the time, but 6 main characters that are the main focus of the movie. And the point of that scene is that these characters, the furnace scene, these characters that don't know each other, that don't trust each other, suddenly have to work together, are forced to work together. And even though Antonia and Yelena weren't actually friends before that, they related to one another. They went through exactly the same thing. Dreykov mind controlled them and forced them to be monsters, essentially. So if your character at the beginning of the movie has any advantage and you want to challenge that character, you have to take that advantage away. So the one possible ally that Yelena had in that room got taken away. So now she has to depend on Walker, Bob, and Ava, who she doesn't know at all. So, yeah. Jake revealed that there was some talk about keeping her alive longer and killing her later, but then it would be more painful if he felt it would be more painful if they spent time developing this character, making her friends with all the rest of the group, and then kill her off. So I think that in itself was serviced really, really well 2 scenes later after the furnace scene where they're walking through the desert together. And Ava asks, like, oh, realizes, holy shit, Val manipulated us and I accidentally killed this person who was exactly like me. She's this unfortunate person who was experimented on, who was turned into a monster and was turned into a weapon against her will. And this person I could have potentially been friends with, I was tricked into killing. So, yes, while it's not my favorite plot point in the movie, it's one that I ultimately have to agree with the fact that it was a vital plot point. So anyway, there's a large group of people who are not on board with this movie because it's a very, 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 very loose adaptation of the comic. In the comic, the Thunderbolts are 100% bad guys. At least in the original incarnations, they're 100% bad guys, and they're using their Suicide Squad-like position with the government now to manipulate the forces, the powers that be, to their benefit. Here, most of the characters are anti-heroes, or, they're just people who, not necessarily supervillains, but people who have been manipulated to do bad things. So they're not 100% bad guys. So if you're one of those people that love the comic and are upset that this movie only resembles the comic very superficially, I sympathize with you and I get it, but I still really, really enjoyed the movie. So there you go. So what are some personal complaints that I have about the movie, in spite of the fact that I really enjoyed it and I thought it was really good? Number one, that the movie, it doesn't really feel like a movie. It feels like a Thunderbolts, a pilot, like a 2-part pilot for a Thunderbolts show. That's what it feels like. With that said, oh my God, does this thing have amazing pacing. Some of the best pacing I've seen in any Marvel movie. Last time when I talked about Captain America Brave New World, I specifically highlighted how one of that movie's greatest weaknesses is that the pacing was garbage. It would change from scene to scene. This movie's pacing is excellent. So if you want an example, a lot of you asked me for an example of good pacing. This is it. Thunderbolts is it. This is a movie that every sequence is allowed to breathe, okay? They're not jumping from one moment to the other, one moment to the other. No. Every moment is allowed to breathe. Every moment has a beginning, middle, and end, and makes its point beautifully. And the movie is 2 hours long, but those 2 hours go by like that. And they allow each section to take its time. The scene in the furnace, them getting away, Bucky coming to their rescue, them making the decision to get involved, them trying to get involved and failing, and then getting involved again in that final sequence with the Void. Every moment lands beautifully. Lands, they feather the landing beautifully. It's not rushed, it's not brusque, it's not blunt, it's perfectly paced. So all the respect in the world to director Jake Schreier and the editing team, because they did a fantastic job of putting this thing together and make it flow. With that said, I wish, in spite of the fact that Taskmaster gets killed off and there's more time to spend with the other 6 main characters, I didn't feel like enough time was spent with Ava, who was the character I was looking forward to the most being developed, at least in my opinion. Because, again, just like Ant-Man and the Wasp, I feel like she was barely used, or at least not used to her full potential. And one thing that I was really looking forward to that didn't happen was that she didn't get that nightmare moment with Bob. When Bob touches somebody and they go into this nightmare world where they are re-experiencing their worst memory. I really wanted to see what that would have been like for Ava, but we never got it. However, she still got a lot of great moments, so it's difficult to complain about that, but that was one of my few issues. And also one of the reasons why I justified them killing off Taskmaster to spend more time with the rest of the cast. But again, I still feel like more time could have been spent with her, and I have this notion that her nightmare scene might have ended up on the cutting room floor, sacrificed for the sake of the pacing of the movie, which again I thought was awesome. So again, difficult to complain. So another thing that bothered me a little bit, but in no way. Let's call all of these meaningless fanboy gripes, okay? These complaints. Let's call them that, because they really in no way change the quality of the movie. The quality of the movie is still slaps. Anyway, them becoming the Avengers. So I remember when Falcon and the Winter Soldier came out, and Walker was made Captain America, how most of the fan base had this really adverse reaction. But that happens in the first episode, so I knew that he wasn't gonna be Captain America by the end of the show. I knew that wasn't gonna, so I was okay with it, but a lot of people had this really adverse reaction. Some really crappy people even started sending death threats to Wyatt Russell, which is insane. Please don't do that. Don't ever do that. Don't send death threats or harsh complaints to the actors and the crew, the cast and crew of a movie or a TV show. That's insane, okay? Those people are just doing their jobs. They're not out to hurt you. But there were still people who had an adverse reaction and weren't a-holes about it. But I didn't. I officially had an adverse reaction when suddenly they go through the curtain and these are the Avengers now. It's like, what? What are you talking about? How are they the Avengers? And since when does Val have the authority to make people Avengers? Okay, when did that happen? So yeah, I had a very adverse reaction to that, and I was like, no, you're not. You're not the Avengers. But they immediately, brilliantly fixed that, or at least addressed that to a degree with the closing title sequence, how they show all the news articles, magazine articles, social media blurbs of people not accepting them as the Avengers. And they do that wonderful mid-credit scene where Red Guardian is at the grocery store and he's trying to get a lady to notice that he's on the Wheaties box, but she doesn't care and she just leaves the Wheaties box. And that was funny that it's very realistic. Number one, that there would be something that you would love like the Avengers, and suddenly somebody like Val gains authority over it, seemingly out of nowhere, David Sosloff, and all of a sudden this person who should not be in charge of this is in charge of it and takes these crazy liberties that you would never accept with the thing that you love. It's very realistic. And of course, that all of a sudden this new version is not accepted by general audiences. We've seen that many, many, many times. However, I have a theory, and my theory is this, that they're doing this on purpose, showing you this second stringer group of Avengers, so you will then accept the actual team of Avengers that we're going to meet in Avengers Doomsday that Sam is assembling. Okay? So it's a really brilliant marketing strategy. Like, oh, here's new Coke. New Coke sucks. Bring back original Coke. And they changed the recipe and everything, and it's not really classic Coke, but it's like, oh, classic Coke is back. It's in that can that I recognize, so good. Forget about that new Coke. So, yeah. Are they the new Avengers by, comic book definition? Not really. They're more, to me, they're more like the Great Lakes Avengers or the East Coast Avengers or possibly Force Works, which was another team, preventative team of heroes. But yeah, for now, in the cinematic universe, they are the new Avengers, so it is what it is. And the final thing, my final meaningless fanboy gripe about this really good movie that they made, is that Val didn't get her comeuppance at the end. That made me feel kind of empty, unfulfilled at the end. She did so many horrible things in this movie, and I want to clarify something right here, right now. I love Julia Louis-Dreyfus. One of the best actors, one of the best performers, one of the best comedic performers of all time. It is an honor and a pleasure to have her play the Contessa Valentina Allegra de Fontaine in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. They couldn't have picked a better actor to play her. And she is incredible in this movie. So I'm not throwing shade at her. I'm not throwing shade at the portrayal of the character. And I sure as hell don't want anybody to go after her and harass her online. Please don't do what don't go that route. That is if you do that, you're not a fan. You're just an a-hole. But at the end, I felt like, okay, she did all these horrible things and she didn't get what she deserved. And yes, it's realistic. And yes, at this point, she's the most effective villain in the Marvel Cinematic Universe because she did a bunch of horrible things and 100% got away with it. Yes, it's realistic. We see that in the real world all the time. People that do bad things and get away with it. Let's not get into politics. But man, I just really needed her to take a pie in the face at the end. I really needed her to drive into the manure truck like Biff. I just needed that moment at the end and I didn't get it. It felt completely unfulfilled. It felt like when you're about to sneeze and you don't sneeze, how sneezing is usually such an inconvenience, but then suddenly when it doesn't happen, when you're about to sneeze and it doesn't happen, you feel like, oh, you feel so unfulfilled. That's what it felt like at the end when Red Guardian and Bucky are like headed towards her. They're about to give her just desserts. They're arguing about whether they should hurt her or arrest her. And then, you're the Avengers now. And they're all like, okay, we're the Avengers now. And yes, Yelena says, we own your ass now. But I wanted to see that. I wanted to see them owning her and making her suffer for literally trying to put them through the paper shredder along with all the evidence of all the horrible crap that she did, especially to Bob, who originally was supposed to be played by Stephen Yeun, and that would have been wonderful, and that was disappointing when he couldn't do it because of the writer's strike. But my God, Lewis Pullman did such a good job, and I very, very quickly fell in love with a character that I honestly didn't care for in the comics. So respect to her. Just Bob was adorable. You just want to nurture him. You want to hold him close. You want to protect him. And then when he becomes the Sentry and also the Void, oh my God, what a switch. What an actor to be able to turn on a dime and go from the most beloved and meek character in the movie to the most terrifying. So respect to him. and I look forward to seeing him again in Avengers Doomsday, see where that goes. So there you go. Those are my thoughts and feelings and opinions on Thunderbolts, asterisk. Agree, disagree, feel free to say so in the comment section below. But without fighting, we're all on the same team. Respect each other's opinion. And now for everybody's favorite part of these videos, the announcements at the end. Believe it or not. Right now, on my Patreon page, I am counting down my top 10 hopes for James Gunn's new DCU. As most of you know, I am a massive DC Comics fan, even more so than Marvel, in spite of my shirt. And I've had some strong opinions about the DCEU, so much so that I blacklisted it and I stopped watching those movies altogether. So now they're doing exactly what I wanted them to do. They are wiping the slate clean, and they are starting from the beginning, literally starting with the franchise that started the DC universe, Superman. So what are my hopes as a long-term super hardcore fan who has always rooted for DC more than Marvel, believe it or not? I will reveal that on my Patreon page. So if you want to check out that video, but you're not a patron, all you have to do is go to patreon.com/E-Rant and pledge $1. That's it. You pledge $1, you're helping me to continue to produce content, and in return, you get bonus videos. You can't beat that with a wooden stick. And now, for my last announcement, what will be my next honest review, one that I used to get a lot of requests for. They have stopped, but I used to get a lot of requests for, and I was gonna fulfill that request in 2023, but unfortunately the files that I had, the video files that I had were corrupted, and I couldn't use them and I couldn't make the video. But thanks to my assistant editor, Jess Broextra, I now have the files and I can do the video, so I am finally doing an honest review on Transformers Prime. As most of you know, I'm not a huge Transformers fan, but even me, somebody who's not into the franchise, loves this show. So in just a few weeks on this very channel, I'll be talking about it. Stay tuned for that. As per usual, thank you for your ongoing support, because I could not do what I do without you.